Hello, everyone. I just had one of those moments where I was just thinking out loud, and I kind of got something to talk about. Yeah, I'll just start. It's like when I was younger, I felt as if like I was on another mind level than the rest of my peers and some of my family members, and I felt as if, you know, there are certain. I'll let people there are certain people that you know I feel as though when I don't share anything in common and they're not at the same kind of mental level as I am, and they like a lot of things that I don't care for, I feel as if I'm stomaching the interaction instead of actually enjoying it. Like, like people who say, "Hey, what's up?" And then it's like, okay, well, that's a very awkward way of starting a conversation. Or just like, "How are you? What's been going on with you?" Or "What's been in your life?" And then I'm like, yeah, like, let's talk about a specific subject and not just say, "Hey, what's up?" to each other. Like, that just sounds like dumb and not really creative. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's like, when we're younger, we're told, there's certain obligations we have to take, doing our homework, our chores, and all these things. It's like, say hi to all your older family members and don't leave until you said like goodbye to everybody. And it's like all these things feel like it's like we're stomaching it, right? But the thing is like, how can I say? I felt as though it's, for me, like, a lot of times living life it I think it has to do with actually looking forward to when you get up in the morning, like where you're going and what you're doing. I think so many people are just living, a lot of people can be living day by day, just stomaching things, just feeling as though, oh, great, I have to deal with this. Oh, great, I have to deal with that. And I mean, that sounds like it sucks. And so many obligations that are tying them down and not letting them actually go for the gold and do what they want to do. And yeah, it's not really that great. But on the other hand, I feel as if the opposite of stomaching life is just like when I'm in a science museum or when I'm on a vacation and I'm exploring. Like, you're really not stomaching life and living life when you're in your element, when you're doing the things that make you feel the most alive, that make you feel the most happy. And for me, that's a large room on Twitter Spaces where I'm sharing an idea and philosophy with people. I'm hosting a room. It's when I'm playing a video game that really has a good story to it and I can really get in the story. It's when maybe I'm flying my drone over something beautiful. And I mean, when I'm really just thinking about life and philosophy, and I think the important thing is that your living life to stomaching life ratio at least has to be a 60/40, as in, like, 60% of life should be living it and 40% of your life should be like stomaching it, right? But I feel as though it's like we have to have a little bit of empathy for people who are just who I mean, and this is why I'm such a big believer in the UBI, because people in miserable jobs who are just stomaching life all day and all night, and they're trapped in a situation that they don't want. I mean, how much life sucks if you're just like stomaching it all the time. You're bored, you're nothing is new, nothing is interesting, nothing ever changes, you know. And then it was opposed to living life, which is like, oh, okay, I'm with people I like, I'm going somewhere I like, I'm doing the things that I want to do, and maybe once in a while, something messes up and I have to clean up a mess and I have to have a hard conversation with someone. But let's just say, like, okay, then that ratio would kind of be like 80% of living life and 20% of stomaching life. So I think that what the kind of brand that I want to build for myself and the kind of person that I want to be to the community and to, everybody out there is I want to stand for a person who lives life, like, if I can get this ratio, like 90% living life and only 10% of stomaching life. It's impossible to live a life that you never stomach. Eventually, you're going to have a hard conversation with someone. Something's going to go wrong. An accident is going to happen. Someone who you really enjoyed speaking to can just drop off the grid, and you'll never understand, like, why or what happened. So you have to stomach all of that. But I feel as though if the stomaching ratio is like 90% and the living life ratio is that your only forms of escaping from the mundane are just like eating a piece of cheesecake and watching a sitcom, and then your work is just boring and dull and makes you unhappy, and then you just live for that dinner in front of the TV. That's like a very low living life ratio and a very high stomaching life ratio. And that to me was my worst nightmare. Like, I didn't care, and that this is why I'm holding off on getting married and having kids and doing all these like milestone things that you do when people get older, because I'm not stupid. I I'm actually highly intelligent, and if you think that's narcissism, you're a moron. And anyway, let me not get ahead of myself. But main point, I want to get all of my ducks in a row. So before I do some big life decision that requires a lot of obligation and a lot of commitment, like marriage, having kids, getting my own place, I want to make sure that I put things in order for myself, that my stomaching life ratio is extremely low and my living life ratio is extremely high. And how do I do that? How am I doing that? It's by understanding that the opportunities that present themselves, that are going to allow for me to live a dynamic life, those opportunities I'm going to what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to seize very quickly and very intensely. So, like, the opportunity to have a very powerful person as a friend, a thinker, an intellectual, a person with a huge circle of influence or a huge influence on the world, and then they'll know me, and then I'll share that influence with them, and then I'll build my brand. I'll sell some things. I'll have maybe some passive income, so I know that I'll be secure. So then when I organize and I put these opportunities together and they start working out and I start seeing like a huge return on investment, then I'm going to take more of these branching out risks, that calculated risks that I can take. So I'll know that my stomaching life ratio will be very low and my living life ratio will be very high, because I've I've seized these opportunities, I've secured these opportunities, and I know that I'll be secure in life. The bank account I have, the friends that I have, all of these things. Now, here's the thing, right? Nobody knows what tomorrow is actually going to bring, right? Nobody knows, that car is going to hit you, or some driver would just be drunk and you just jumped out of the car just in time for them not to hit you, or maybe your store is going to get robbed. I mean, all these things that you can't predict. So that's why I'm also not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to put my eggs in multiple baskets, and then maybe if just one or two of those baskets brings in like a high return or something that I can really count on, and something that I can, an opportunity that presents a lot of return on investment that I can really laser focus on and be really sharp with, then I'm golden. And maybe I'll have two opportunities. That way, if one opportunity doesn't work out, I'll have two opportunities that I love and I'm laser focused on, and it'll have the potential for a lot of return on investment. So if one of them blows up, I'll have another one, and while I'm on that other one, I'll be working on another one too. So I'm always, spry and ready to seize anything that's out there. So I think that way, for the ASPE personality, or some people call it ASD, that I have, I'll get all my ducks in a row. So I'll know, because here's the bottom line. It's like when you're growing up, a lot of things that are going to determine whether in you're that stomaching mode of life, then if you're really in that living life mode of life, is kind of like your family, your parents. And if they kind of put all this obligation on your shoulders, and you're not happy with it, and all these things are bothering you, it's like you've lived a life where you were younger, you felt like you were constantly stomaching, and you just look forward to that day where it's like, oh, but when I get older and I become X, maybe I'll actually live a life where I'm actually enjoying instead of stomaching all the goddamn time. But the thing is, and here's the thing, and wait until I finish, until I let people up. The thing is that if you live that life where you don't have to think about stomaching so much, and you actually have to think about living it. But the thing is, like, when you come out of childhood and you have an adulthood, and then in that adulthood, it's like, I'm not going to be like you're in a job that makes you miserable, that doesn't bring in enough money, and you can't do things like for yourself. Then your mind is in that mode that, like, it's like mostly stomaching life and not really living it. And like, that's the thing that you want to get away from. So you always have to be on the lookout for opportunities and people you can make friends with and things like that. So that kind of thing, it's like more in your control when you get older, since you can choose your career and since you can choose your friends, like how much of your life you're going to stomach instead of how much of your life you're actually going to live. And these are the things that our stupid education system never really discusses with us. So I'm gonna make this, and I'm probably gonna keep this recording forever to kind of, you know, re- uh, what's the word I'm looking for? To remind me of what I'm, you know, planning on and what I want to avoid at all costs. So that being said, anyone can comment.